Hey guys, welcome back to Berry's Corner. It's Emily here, and today I'm going to be showing you guys all the books that I read in February. First of all, let's just get this out of the way. The lighting is horrible. Coming back to college and filming here is just very annoying. So hopefully you guys don't mind. I'll figure it out soon. Do not worry. I'm trying to have like a good background in some sense, but aside from that, February was horrible for me. I was very overwhelmed. I was very stressed out, mostly because of school. I've literally been nonstop doing things and it is insane. Hence, me not reading much in February. I was honestly debating on whether to do this video and the March TBR together, but then I had so much for March that I was like, okay, that'd be like a really insanely long video. So hopefully this video is not too short, but basically I read 5 books this last month. Oh my gosh. I can't believe we're already 3 months into 2022. And honestly, I wouldn't have read them if I hadn't gone home for a weekend. So hopefully in March, we can read a lot more. And it was also kind of an average rating month as well, but a lot of POC work. So let's get into the books that I read. Please subscribe, comment down below, and like this video. All of my social links are down in the description box below, as well as my Amazon wishlist if you'd like to give me a book. Now let's get on to the video. The first book that I read on the way back home as an audiobook, and it is Home is Not a Country. I don't remember the author's name, but it's a novel told in verse, and it is basically about a girl that is Muslim, and she is going through it. She basically hates her life. She feels like she's just a shell of herself because her dad died before she was born, so she never really knew him. So she's living in a poor household with a single mother, and also she's Muslim, so we also talk a lot about racism and prejudice and all that good stuff that happens in America and all around the world. But also her friend's going through something right now and is leaving her. I don't want to spoil anything, but she just feels like she's not a good person. Like she just feels like she's not living up to her potential, and she realized that her mother almost named her Yasmin before she was born, and she was like, if I was named Yasmin, I would be like a completely different person. I'd be a better person. I'd live a better life. And basically it's a novel told in verse and it's contemporary, but it has a touch of magical realism. And so she kind of sees glimpses of Yasmin, and she goes around and kind of goes back to the past to glimpse what happened before she was born. One thing I will say about this novel is that it was written beautifully. One thing that stood out with this book was the writing. The diction was so beautiful, flowery, poetic. It was just amazing. It definitely had some Elizabeth Acevedo vibes, which is, by the way, if you don't know who that is another author that writes books in verse, but speaks on Hispanics, which is great. But it makes sense because the author kind of paid homage to her and was like, thank you to Elizabeth Acevedo, the book's auntie. So I was like, okay, you guys like are in cohorts. Like I understand. I see where you get this from. Little book besties. It was great. So I really love the writing style. However, I don't think audiobook was the best media to read this book on. It was just, I don't think novels told in verse and audiobooks mesh well with me, because I read another novel told in verse through audiobook on the way back to college. Again, did not mesh with me, and that definitely hindered my experience of both novels. Another thing that I liked about this book was the family dynamic and the friendship dynamics, but also the talk about Muslim culture. I have just started seeing Hispanic culture spoken about or shown in books. And for me, being a Hispanic, that means so much. And I know that there's not enough Muslim rep in the media. And so to see this like displayed so beautifully in a book, I was like, it was such cozy vibes. And even though I'm not Muslim, I still felt the familiarity of what she was going through. And if you were Muslim, I could only imagine how this book must have felt for you. One thing I didn't like though, the magical realism aspect was not the vibe for me. I felt like the book was trying to do way too much with that aspect. I kind of separate it with the Yasmin magical realism part and the going back in time magical realism part. I think the going back in time magical realism part, how many times will I say that, was great. I thought that was a good aspect to the novel, and it really pushed forward that purpose. But with Yasmin, there was this whole thing about like, I'm trying not to spoil it, but like there was a competition aspect. Hated that aspect. What, like, it just, no, I didn't like it. I didn't think it needed to be there. I didn't think it pushed forward the purpose at all of this novel. It just was not needed at all. literally at all. Overall, I gave this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I think if you're really trying to look towards or look into some more Muslim culture, perfect book to read, but I don't think it's like a top priority to be on your shelves. The next book that I read was The Worst Best Man. Again, I don't know the author, but I got this recommendation from Chandler Ainsley, who's pretty popular here on BookTube, and I saw it and I got it immediately on ebook. I was very excited to read it. Basically, it is about it's kind of like the Unhoneymooner vibes. Basically, there's a wedding that was going on. The bride kind of gets stumped by the groom. Is that a spoiler? No, it happens in the first paragraph. We're fine. Okay, so basically on their wedding day, she gets dumped by the groom, and she talks to the groom's best man and also the groom's brother and is like, what's going on? Where is he? And the groom's like, ooh, I may have said something to like make him leave, so I'm so sorry. And so she hates this guy. Years later, 4 years later to be exact, they get a business proposal, both of them, for the same hotel company, and the brother and her have to work together and a romance ensues. It definitely gives Unhoneymooner vibes. 1, because it starts at a wedding. 2, because it's with the best man that the romance happens. And although the Unhoneymooners goes on a honeymoon, and this one is like a workplace sort of setting, they also went on vacation for like a weekend. Not a vacation, it was an impromptu vacation, but it was like a cute little getaway that I felt was like just comparable to the Unhoneymooners. One thing that the Unhoneymooners lacked that this one was really, really good in the Unhoneymooners, they were talking about Hispanic culture and how the main twins were Hispanic, but they never went into that culture whatsoever. So me as a Hispanic, I was like, are they just doing it to satisfy like a POC quota, like a I don't know, like they didn't ever go into that at all, but they mentioned it. But in The Worst Best Man, the main character is Brazilian, I believe, and I'm pretty sure that the author is as well, so it's very much own voices, and she goes in and she's so proud to be Brazilian, and it's really amazing. And it also has that aspect of her speaking the language but not well, but still like feeling a sense of pride in it, and I loved it. I love that aspect so much. And although I'm comparing it to the Unhoneymooners a lot, I do think it's a standalone novel. I feel like it has great aspects. I loved the male love interest, who's very cute, very fun, very forward. I do in some ways feel like it's a man guy falls first, but like not by much, but like he definitely does. Like he's very much attracted first, which I really, really enjoyed. I don't think it was my favorite adult romance novel. Like I feel like there could have been more angst. There could have been more to the story. One thing. There needed to be an epilogue. How dare she end it like that? I am so upset. Okay, look, I'm not that upset. I think the ending was fine. I think it was like, okay, it solved everything that needed to be resolved. But we needed an epilogue so that we can have, like, in the story, family was mentioned a bunch on both sides, and I wanted to see like how they would interact a little bit. Like not like going in depth about it, but I needed like maybe, I don't know, them at a party and the family like being nice. I don't know. I wanted to see it all. So overall, I give it 4 stars. I think it's worth the read. Chandler said that she compared it to The Hating Game and she liked this one more. Completely disagree. The Hating Game, top tier. This one's middle of the road, very mid, but still a good read. The next book that I read was another novel told in verse, also on audiobook, so you can tell how it goes. Basically, oh wait, I didn't even say the name. It was Me, Moth. Weird title. Basically, this book is about a girl named Moth, and she is going through a lot. Her family got into a car accident with her inside the car, and she was the only one that survived, and she went to go live with her aunt, and she's just living, again, a shell of herself, and she meets this guy, and they kind of run away from both their families because both of them are having family troubles and all this good stuff, and they kind of go on a road trip to the guy's father. It's basically just an exploration of each other and themselves and their whole journey, and they try to help each other out and try to help each other get better. It was good. I definitely think that this book was very poetic. I know I described the other book as poetic. This one literally just had random bits of poetry inside this novel that was kind of like explained as the guy's music, but it was definitely poetry. And I don't know if I loved it. I think the writing was beautiful, but I feel like at times this book was trying to be too deep. Like it was trying to be a tryhard. Does that make sense? Am I making any sense at all? Like, yes, it evoked emotion, especially with the plot twist. The plot twist was definitely there. But I felt like it was trying too hard to be so woke or to be deep. And it wasn't working. It wasn't working out well. Didn't love that aspect. Moth, a bit annoying at sometimes. The guy, love interest, a bit annoying. But overall, I really did enjoy their journey. I felt like it was pretty cool. The twist really got me. Again, I feel like the audiobook with a novel told in verse, for me specifically, it doesn't mesh well for me. I truly think that novels told in verse should be read physically, at least for me. I gave this book a 3 stars. I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth the read. Let me know what you guys thought if you've read it before, but I don't know. It was very mid, but like, I don't know, mid to low. It wasn't the best. The next book I read was a Wattpad book. Goodreads now has some Wattpad books on their site, so I'm counting it. I read Bad Boys Game. I gave this book a 2 stars. I usually give Wattpad books 2 stars. If they're good, I'll give them 3 stars, and that's how you know it's a good Wattpad book. Again, just a mid Wattpad book, and just because I gave it 2 stars doesn't mean that it means it's a bad book regularly, but for Wattpad, it was okay. Basically, it's about this girl, and there's a guy, and he's a bad boy, and he's like kind of confused as to why she's not like falling at his feet. And he's like, okay, look, we'll play this game in 3 months if you fall for me. I don't remember what, like, then she loses, but then if he loses and like falls for her, then he'll give up like alcohol and like drinking and like being his player ways. It was just a fun time. It was a quick read. It was like a really short Wattpad book, but still had some type of substance, which is kind of a ball game. Like, sometimes you can't really determine if it's short and it has substance or not. I thought it was cute. I thought sometimes the angst was there. I don't think it was great on the angst and all that good stuff. I don't know. It was just fine. It was an okay Wattpad book. I got this recommendation off of TikTok, so if you only read Wattpad books, this may be your vibe. Now, the last book that I read was Paper Girls by... Who is this by? I don't know who this is by. But basically, this is about this girl that goes to be a paper girl that like throws a newspaper on the like doorsteps of people. Apparently, this other girl like was this huge paper girl before her, and then she meets her and her gang. Then these weird people come, beat this girl up, and is like, what? We're aliens, crazy, but now we're on Earth, and they have no idea what's happening. If you can't tell by how I'm describing this novel, I hated this book. I hated this graphic novel. I don't understand why people enjoyed this book. And I'm so sorry if you did. I'm so sorry. But it wasn't the vibe. First of all, first thing that I'm just gonna get out. Okay, wait, actually, let me say one good thing. Illustrations, beautiful. Top tier illustrations, amazing graphics, like just so beautiful. The pastels, amazing. I truly think that that's like the best part of this book. I think that this book says controversial things, very controversial things, but it doesn't say it to advance the plot. There, I said it. Literally in the beginning of this book, there was a time where she said the F word. Now, not F-U-C-K. She said the F word, meaning for gay people. And I was like, okay. Then she was talking about AIDS. And the only reason, and they said it against somebody. She said it, and it wasn't to advance the plot in any way, shape, or form. The only reason the author put it in there was to say that you shouldn't say it. That's the only reason. Had nothing to do with the scene, had nothing to do, like, okay, this was in the beginning, so I'll just tell you what happened because it's not that deep. This guy was, like, bullying the girl, and so she was like, hey, you F word, like, she could have, like, made that guy back off without using slurs and just being really rude and, like, say controversial things. And the only reason the author put it in was just to say, like, tell the audience, really, you guys shouldn't say those words. That has nothing to do with what you said it. You said it to prove a point, and the point wasn't even valid. Like, it wasn't needed, and it just made me uncomfortable. I don't like the characters in this book. I thought all of them were annoying. Every single character in this book was annoying. I'm sorry if I have a controversial opinion. I'm giving this book a 1 star. I'm giving this graphic novel a 1 star. It was not worth my time. Okay, guys, those are all the books that I read in February. Hopefully I'll read more in March. I hope that you guys really enjoyed this video. I hope that you guys have an amazing rest of your night, evening, day, morning. Have an amazing day. I love you guys so much. Do whatever you want to do, and goodbye.